my god. Okay, sit, please.
That was my tango
That.
that I miss. Hi everybody, whoever is there. So today we're talking about
We're talking about the pivot. There was only one question from last week's topic, and it had to do with lower back pain for leaders. So,
I don't know what they're talking about.
so Ivan will talk about that a little bit.
Lower back pain is really simple to, first of all, understand where the problem comes from, and second of all, to eventually fix it if you have a back pain, right?
I mean, we don't usually we would give a correction if we see you. It's easier to give the correction.
Yeah.
But we'll talk. I guess Ivan will talk in general about the types of things that can cause lower back pain.
We can kind of tell what some of the things what they could be. Yeah, of course, I cannot see you, but I can kind of see you. The first thing is this: if you're not standing straight, but really straight, one of the problems already for how you're standing already can create lower back pain. Sometimes a lot of tango dancers from the idea of what it means to maintain an embrace or stay connected or whatever, they position themselves in a place that is not healthy and helpful for the body. So being straight is one of the first and most important things. And what does that mean? So for example, I can show you. It's have to do a lot with how you align your chest, your hips in relationship to your knees, let's say, right? Can I show them?
Yeah.
So let me put my hands in. No, my shirt in. Can you see me?
Yeah.
A little farther.
So you're off screen. There you go.
There. So I have to make sure, and I'm going to bend a little so you can see me. And I have to make sure that my chest and my hips, they're on the same line. Yes? So you can see from here my arm is straight. And my hips, again, they're not either arching back. See how almost I'm sticking my butt out, which that creates a curve on my spine. Or that either I'm not tucking in, which I'm sitting. Both of them can create the problem, but more likely the arching back, it will impact your lower back right away. So already from you standing in this position, over time you can create a lot of problems. Imagine now that you have another person, hopefully you're timing and you're not putting weight against each other, and hopefully you're not pivoting. Because if you know that will increase the pain on your lower back. So to be able to prevent this position, this normally means that this right here, your abs, are not working. If this is not working, then it's more likely that this could relax here. So what you want to try to do is to engage your belly. And by engaging your belly, it already brings you, it's almost like it does this to your spine, elongates the whole body to be able to have protection for your lower back. Also, another idea that I took from the people that work with us with the body, how do you say it? Physiotherapists. That besides the position on the back, and let's say you engage in your belly, let's say and you still have a problem on the back, that has to do because your glutes are really weak. So another thing that you can do is to try to exercise many different things to try to be able to engage that whenever, let's say, if I'm standing and I have to start moving, and I'm going to engage my belly, I'm going to also try to feel that I want to turn out my inner thighs, my legs, and at the same time feel that I want to engage a little bit my glutes. I don't want to lock them because it won't let me able to move, but I want to feel that I can engage them. So I engage my belly, I engage my inner thighs, and engage my glutes a little bit. So my glutes would help for the problem of my lower back. So for some people, sometimes, let's say you go to the gym or you do an exercise that have to do with squats, for example. If I do a squat, this position, right, I want to be able to keep my body straight when I do that. I don't want to arch. So a lot of people say that you want to try to go towards your heels. So in that moment when you want to try to do this again, you want to turn your legs out, engage your inner thighs, and feel that your glutes are working. So you want to sit towards there and keep squeezing your belly so that you can stay still straight and you don't want to curve it. Then of course you go all the way down and then feel your booty on your heels and your heels are pressing up to have the sensation to go up. And then again you can keep this position straight. Which again, if your belly is not engaged, your glutes are not engaged, your inner thighs are not engaged, they're not helping you to be able to keep a straight position while you move. Yes? So that's my take on when we have a lower back pain. The other thing that can take us there, and that's what takes us eventually to pivots, yes, is where you generating the energy to be able to turn. Yes? Can you? I need to turn off that stuff.
No, you're doing fine.
Yes, we'll have to turn this off.
Yeah, Ivan has to turn off the water because he's making a tea for himself. So give him a second.
You're doing so beautiful.
He has a lot of energy. I think he needs to talk today.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a difficult day in our household.
With me, with you evil person. You are the worst.
Oh my God.
Alright, anytime. You can talk to them.
I don't know what you want to say, so I don't want to talk. No, you're doing so well. Today is my quiet day. I always talk, but I'm gonna let you talk today.
You know what's good for you.
I don't know if you guys hear him. What are you doing?
Because I didn't have enough energy.
Oh my God.
I needed mate. De Mendoza. Yes.
Okay. Keep going with what you're saying.
Anyway. So the other thing that have to do with lower back pain, we already say the position that you stand is really important, but then we've been talking on all of the other vlogs about the idea of where the energy of any movement comes from. Yes? So for pivots, it's going to be exactly the same thing. The energy, it comes from the ground, from the floor. And again, the closest thing of your body from the ground is your feet. So whatever is down there is where you want to start to think that the energy comes from. Of course, it comes as as a composition of your whole body. You need to engage the entire body together to be able to, that your ankles or your feet that are pressing the ground, they're helping to move the top. Yes? If you know, then you're going to have obviously a problem on your ankles. So when we create a pivot, we don't want to think about this idea. These are great exercises for other things that they don't help us. The idea of swinging your upper body, and when you swing your upper body, you pivot. This is not realistic, and it seems like I'm accomplishing the pivot, but I'm not really accomplishing it. The problem is that I'm turning and twisting everything on top and leaving the lower body here, which it can cause a lot of problems on my knees and eventually on your ankles. And if you're on top of it, you're not straight and you're in an arch doing this, you have even less mobility on your spine to be able to twist. So you need to make sure that you are straight, you engage your belly, your inner thighs, your glutes, and then that the rotation, it doesn't come because you swing your upper body. It comes because you press the ground with that energy And that's what makes you pivot. So then again, it helps obviously to have the upper body on one side, yes, that you're twist. Don't let the hips go with that. Just try to find the opposition in your body. And then, in this case, I'm on my left leg, because I'm turning my upper body to my left for now, so then I feel that I turn forward. I want to press my foot as I connect my inner thigh, as I connect my glutes, and as I connect my belly, to eventually connect it to my lats and my back, so then I can connect it to my embrace. All of that in conjunto.
Together?
No, en conjunto. I know that word. Come on, en conjunto.
Together.
Together, it helps us to move easily. So then what you can try, you turn it to one side, make sure you're straight, you're not leaning. You engage in your belly, you engage your inner thighs, lats, glutes. Now stand on your left foot, and for now what you can do is to put one foot next to the other one and try to press against it. It will force you to use your inner thighs. So when you do that, then what you have to do is to put more energy towards the ground, pressing towards the ground, and try to start to slightly rotate, yes, see, a little bit forward and back, and then just put more energy into it, and that will help you to rotate. Like you see what I did now, you see I'm still twisted, I'm still on that torque position of that opposition. I didn't let my upper body go. So that's how you want to treat it. You want to, if you're going to do it from the idea of we start twisting on the upper body, do not swing it, stop it there. This doesn't move. Turn the lower body, keep the upper body in the same place. Change legs. I'm on my right now, and then I do the same thing. Everything, I engage my belly, everything else, and then I really press down. When I'm pressing down, what I feel the most for me is first the foot towards the ground, but then it's my belly. And it's the sensation in my belly that is going across my body. So if I'm here, when I'm doing this position, see, you can see a little bit on the shirt that is creating this. I cannot do the diagonals there. These diagonals here, right? That sensation of my belly against my hips is helping me to be able to turn. Yes, this is for me the most powerful part, but it starts on my foot. I cannot think about it. I come from the upper body.
So it's almost like there's a lot of engagement from the core through the inner thighs engaging against each other of the legs, through the pressure of the body weight into the floor, and then increasing of pressure beyond just that of body weight to make more energy. So that, since this will help your lower back not hurt, because you can still be aligned and rotate, and you're not jerking anything. You're not letting your soft tissue, like all the little ligaments that are around your spine and in your hips, that the tendons and the ligaments that are holding the bones and the muscles and the bones together, you're not using them to kind of pull yourself around. It's really engaged. It's much more fascia-based and muscle-based, so that actually your whole system is working together to create energy for turns. So this is sort of like the essential idea of a pivot in terms of how energy is created for it. So regardless of the direction in which we turn, whether we turn forward or we turn back. So what's the difference between a forward rotation or a back rotation? If Ivan is standing on his left leg and he turns towards his left side, that would be a forward pivot. Yeah.
Left to the left.
And now if he's rotating back to the other side,
my right to my left. Yes.
That's a back pivot. Yeah? They're both created in the same ways. But this is just an idea of energy. And what is really complex about pivots, and what a lot of times we don't think about when we're pivoting, is that in order to transmit information about movement, energy is not sufficient. You also need to have direction and pivoting. And many exercises or many concepts of pivots are only interested in energy. And they make the concept of a pivot be a stationary concept. So a lot of the time when we learn or we think about pivots, we separate the step, which inherently has a direction, from the moment of the pivot. And this gives the pivot like some kind of a very special status, like it's something separate from the walk, like it's something separate from the direction. But in reality, it is not. So can you show the pivot that is not connected to the direction?
On the end, when that happened, what I showed you earlier, with all the specifications of what I have to do with my body and all of that, like I say, I feel it more on my foot and on my belly. I feel what more? I feel more energy. So to be able to do that like that, it's actually harder. It's a lot of things that have to be working correctly so then I don't swing myself from the upper body. And eventually there is an idea that you should not have to have the upper body twisting to be able to pivot. So I don't need necessarily to prepare from the upper body to pivot. I should be able to keep my upper body in the same place, create the same sensation in my body, and I will need, yes, more energy to be able to press, to be able to do that, without having to swing myself. But again, this is really stationary. We're doing it from 0, and you have to go, let's say, from 1 to 100 to 50 on energy to be able to really get there. So it's really hard to do.
So this is just energy. So a lot of the time that we see pivoting, can you do now what I'm asking you to do?
I'm going to.
Is
you just
that
started talking, so I came back.
It has a line, direction, walk, step. The energy stops from the floor. Then there is a rotation in place, which is then again separate from the next step. So everything is kind of cut. Can you show that? Without talking?
The cut one?
Yeah.
The bad one?
Yeah.
For us,
not the bad. Well, the more standard way of thinking about it. So it looks kind of like this.
I don't understand. ¿Quieres que me haga este down?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. So this is a lot of the time that people think about pivots. So there's a step.
Sorry, I have it all in.
So there's a step, and then a transfer of weight together. So now the energy is cut. Then there's a separate energy with the legs together for the pivot, usually by swinging the upper body. Then that energy has to be controlled, so then that energy is cut. And then there is another direction, and then just another energy, and then a cut.
So another thing, there is a lot of, it's almost like we're starting to use momentum, but then that momentum,
in order to control it,
we have to put more energy to control it. Or we just let it coast. The only problem, if I let it just coast until I arrive, I cannot control the timing of the rotation. I will only do it in one particular speed, and I won't be able to do it either slower, either faster, or to turn more.
So when we move in this way, what happens is that the moment of the pivot doesn't have any direction. So if Ivan, for example, wants to lead that I am doing, let's say, back ochos while he does forward ochos, this is a very kind of, it's an example step. Maybe we don't use it so much, but just think about it, about applications for other things, because they're all related. So if Ivan wants to lead me back ochos while he does forward ochos, you can see the shoe size.
You join me first, and
Okay.
when I do it, and then we change the different positions,
Okay.
everybody can see everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so I lead you. The bad one.
Yes.
Okay.
No, just a good one first.
I teach since I'm 12 years old, but she forgets.
It's been a long day.
So let me do it then.
Let's say he wants to lead this, that he's doing forward lunges, I'll let you back lunges.
Again.
But the moment of his pivot, he does it, but he does the ocho like he showed before with the direction and then a cut and then another direction.
Already like what? Like, okay.
It does start from the walk.
Yeah, from the walk.
So here we move together.
So it's easy to create diameter.
But then the moment that he does the next movement, I don't actually feel that there's any reason for me to pivot.
So what we start doing is start pushing each other to be able to create that. So it's like, oh no, you push against me, I push against you, and then we try to turn. Yes, accomplish something, but then accomplish the idea that we start pushing each other and pulling each other when we actually have an embrace. So you start to become a little bit of almost like a fight.
So the embrace loses the softness and it becomes more like a frame, like a tool that we are using to be able to move with each other and pass information to each other. So all of the other things that we were saying, that, you know, his energy moving through my axis with a direction, telling me where to go, then that concept is lost in the pivot. So then in order to pass information for the pivot, we have to think of another concept. We can't be consistent in our technical underpinning. So why am I not moving in that moment? So we'll repeat that for you one more time so you guys see it. Here I move because he goes through me. And now when he pivots in place, this pivot in place has absolutely no direction towards me. So he is not telling me to keep on moving. If he wants me to keep on moving, his pivot, there has to have a direction. It has to actually move through space.
So what my feet are doing, just like walking, I'm trying to, if you look at the foot I'm standing on my right, I'm trying to articulate because I'm trying to move on that direction at the same time that I'm trying to curve it.
So the difference between a linear walk and a rotated walk is that a linear walk has a simple direction. It's only one. But a rotated walk has all of the directions that are required to make the new landing.
So can I show them that slow motion?
Yeah, so just to finish the previous example, so it's not that we, if you want to pass information to your partner, if you want to lead your partner, you have to have a direction in your pivot. And if I want to follow my partner correctly, as a follower, I also have to have a direction in my pivot. So both of us, in order to move together, we have to do this. Now, let's say that Ivan, for whatever reason, doesn't want to lead me to pivot. He wants to pivot by himself. So he's trying to lead something like this.
So let's say I do the first one, the pivot, and then the second one, I don't want the pivot.
Because instead of telling me to go backwards, he has me do just a rock step and come back. So look at it one more time.
So the first one with the pivot, and then the second one I want to do it by myself, and then continue to something else.
So this is also why we have to be able to distinguish these things when we are telling the person to move with us and when we are telling them that they don't need to move with us. So any kind of a pivot that passes information as to direction where we have to move together, it really has to have a direction inside of the step. So what does that mean? That there is a direction inside of the pivot. So this comes something really important, and it has to do with the very first videos that we did, that we were talking about walking and articulation of the ankle. So if in my pivot, let's go to the booty for a second. Mm-hmm. If in my pivot, let's say I'm in this position, I rotate and I move, and I'm rotating with myself inside of my own axis with no articulation, that pivot would be stationary. So if in my walk I have articulation, I articulate to move forward, then in my pivot, I also have to have articulation. So Ivan has a really good way of showing this, and it has to do with kind of like the timing of the articulation of the ankle with the rotation of the foot.
And I'm the only one in the world that can do this. Just kidding. No, it's not true.
It's been a long day for me.
I can show it really good even in socks.
Okay.
I don't socks so much. So the idea is that from the position that we already rotated, I'm gonna move forward and you see the whole body, and then I'm gonna come closer. Jesus Christ. There. Right, so you see my upper body is slightly rotated, right? If that helps you, you go from there, right? Now I get closer so you see my feet. So from here, I want to still have the same idea that I want my ankle. Again, the idea of the ankle is just an easier way to start to be able to create energy in the beginning. A lot of us, we don't know completely how to engage always the entire body to create pure energy. So this, it gives you a little bit of direction that makes things a little bit easier and more natural. To do it from zero and create that is harder. We're not saying that we don't do it and that you shouldn't do it. It's just first you want to try to understand the coordination of the natural walk to then be able to modify it. Yes?
You still need to have a direction in your pivot. So
yes.
For now, in order to have a direction in your pivot, you have to articulate your ankle. That's it.
Exactly. So
okay.
Even if
so
you do
there's no talking about power because it doesn't matter right now.
I know, but I'm saying even if you do this and this, you will need some energy and direction more than anything to be able to create that. But for now, don't think about it like that because that requires mostly energy. So think about it like this. Do you want to do it? Sara is looking at me funny right now.
Because you're... Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, show the exercise.
Thank you. So now from here, I'm going to use my ankle to try to think like I want to walk there. Yes, let me back up. And then again, my intention is to try to walk there. And then as I do that, I want that my foot that is articulating is also rotating. So then what I'm going to do is to put it all together. Okay, and again.
I showed them that already. I thought you were going to show them the exercise with the opening of the foot.
Oh, okay. So the other one is to think about it like this. It's just, I don't know which one of all the exercise that she stole from me is the one she's talking about. So from here, I have my feet together. For now, I'm going to close the feet. Again, this is a more natural position to have your feet slightly open. In this case, I'm going to close them just to force ourselves to really open. And then from here, I'm going to stand on my right foot. And then, as I'm going to articulate, let me show you sideways. As I'm going to articulate, same idea, I'm going to also try to turn my foot, just like the same exercise I just did before. But now from here, I show you from zero, right in front. So I will do one, and then come back. See, what happens is like how my leg opens. I have to open my leg, yes, as I articulate. And don't let the leg that is pushing turns the whole body to the other side. I also have to go with the other leg opposite. The other leg is the same. If you already turn out, yes, and you do it, it doesn't work as an exercise, yes? So only as an exercise, close your feet, which will never tell you to close the feet like this. You can put the feet together, but not necessarily closer. This is a closed position in the body. plus exercise, it helps us to be able to really find the moment of turning the leg out. Yes? Which helps you to also feel or have the sensation that one hip opens to one side with the foot and the other opens to the other side the same. If you see it backwards, I don't know if you can see it. It's the same. Back, close, open, close, both sides. Down.
So this is just really an exercise in order to understand the timing of the articulation with the timing of the rotation. I'm sorry that the volume is low, but it's the same setting like before. I don't know. It should be normal. Okay. The way that you can think about this is to think that all you're doing when you're pivoting is just choosing to change a direction from a line to, let's say, some point on the circle. So then the movement actually becomes quite natural because let's say that from this position here, I'm standing on my left leg. Instead of going straight ahead to 12 o'clock, let's say that I'm actually going to 11 o'clock. So in order to get to 11 o'clock, I can do this in a lot of different ways. Face front. So this is 12 o'clock. If I want to go to 11 o'clock, I can kind of try to go like this, but then I have a problem because when I transfer my weight, one of my hips will drop. And I'm still kind of making a line here. It's very, very uncomfortable, and it doesn't really work. So in order to be able to go to 11 o'clock, I need to push myself in that direction. So to push myself in that direction, I have to create a position where I'm opening my lower foot.
What you mean
so
by 11 o'clock?
It's the same thing if I'm going to 10 o'clock. In order to get to 10 o'clock, my back leg really has to push me in that direction, my ankle has to articulate. So instead of thinking about pivots as
a separate entity,
as like a separate, that the pivot is separate from the direction, the pivot is only a change in direction in respect to the line. That's all. So if I articulate to go in a line, I still have to articulate to go in a pivot. If the final point of my articulation are my toes, and when I finish my toes, that's when I land. In my pivot, I should also finish the articulation when I land. The only difference between a linear walk and a rotated walk is, like we were saying before in the previous videos, is that in order to do rotated or circular movements, our body mechanic also has to be rotated or circular. So in addition to the articulation and the direction change, there also has to be a rotation of the body. And what this rotation of the body does is it opens the hip and allows our bodies to be spiral. So actually all of these things are all working together. There's really no difference between a forward pivot and a back pivot. Even if I'm walking backwards, I'm still thinking that my back step is just a change in direction of a backwards walk. Yeah?
Marco has a question.
Okay, so let's go to Marco's question. If one does front ochos while the other does back ochos, the bellies of the curves go into opposite directions. How do you adapt them? Make steps linear? No, you don't make steps linear. If I'm walking backwards and Ivan is walking forwards, actually he's going with the inside hip and I'm going with the outside hip. So I don't see why the bellies would be opposite.
Yeah, they actually go to
the same place. We're going exactly together.
So let's say we're here. Yeah. So I have to, from here, when I pivot, right? That we're here, that we're gonna go there. I have my belly on this side to then match her there, right? And then when she's here, she pivots, go ahead.
So when I'm pivoting, I already have this outside part because my outside hip is going out. So the belly is usually emphasized when we have forward pivots, because the front hip is coming through the tighter space, and we need to have the standing leg create more space for that. But when I'm going in the backwards pivot, the belly is already happening by virtue of the standing leg, of the free leg being on the outside part of the standing leg in relation to Ivan.
So imagine, let's say, we can say that the belly is in the back here when I'm going back. So this leg is going to create that
already
belly. You see that belly there? I mean, I know I use closed belly, so now you think that the belly is only here. Yeah, it's here when it's forward, but imagine that it will be back when you're going back, right? So you have like either like una joroba on the back.
No, but it has to do with your standing leg. So when I am doing a back step, my standing leg is open. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the standing leg is open. The belly is already being created. When I'm doing the forward step, I have to create this position from the front leg to be able then to have the belly. So you never want to make these movements linear. You just want to understand how the geometries work together. Okay, can we talk a bit more on keeping balance in the pivot?
Okay. Balance. Okay, try to. As you guys watch all the vlogs, some of you have been studying with us, so you understand a little more was how we put everything together. But for the ones that don't, try to start to put things together from the first vlog, on the sense that
rewatch them and then try to kind of understand how all this information fits together.
For us, the most important thing, and this is what I feel that is kind of like our job in the tango world, to try to make people understand, and this is something that is a really strong emphasis that we try to do, is that we don't believe that you need different techniques for different things. There is one universal thing for everything. So if you, let's say from the beginning we say the energy to walk, because we're talking specifically, let's say in the walk, it comes from your foot by pushing against the ground, etc. When we go into pivots, there is not much different. The only difference that now that direction that you're creating with your ankles, instead of being more linear, is going to be more circular around. So then you will have to adjust your foot. The adjustment is the pivot. So then in general, all of the things, somehow they will take you to the same place. It's just we're unfortunately so used to in Argentine tango that everything it should be different.
Or that it has its own special
technique. Or that its own special technique that is hard to understand sometimes that is not. To create the back ocho, you lead it like this. To create the back ocho on a turn, you lead it differently. To create the back ocho with the boleo, you lead something else. And on and on and on. So we're trying not to think about it like that. We're trying to think about it all as a unit. Yes?
So the question about balance, we I think addressed in one of the previous vlogs, but I'll go over it really quickly one more time because it's good to repeat this information. Balance is really about equilibrium of forces. That's what balance is about. It's not about bending your knees more. It's not about making a certain shape in your body. It's actually how your internal work is compensating for the energies that you're creating in movement. So if I am only standing, forget that I'm moving, let's say I'm only standing, in order to have balance, I have to have a position in space, meaning that this is kind of like how I think about it, but you can think about it in different ways. There's an inside body which is pressing down to the floor, and at the same time, an outside body which is pulling up. That if I am moving forward and back, that there is a forward energy which is happening from my body, but at the same time, there's a back energy. That I have these two sides which are kind of, I'm pushing to the right, and at the same time, I'm pushing to the left. So another way to think about it holistically for your whole body is that you have an inside body pushing out everywhere, and then an outside skin which is containing you. So it's like you're essentially stretching against your side. So this is kind of equilibrium stationary. It's very, very powerful because it creates a lot of energy. So the more energy you have in your body, not necessarily more quantity of energy, but more balance of energy, you will have better equilibrium. When we move, it becomes more difficult because we have to now are changing shapes as we move through space. So I'm not stationary here. My legs are changing relationships to each other, and I have some type of I have a directional energy or momentum in my movement. So those things we have to compensate for. So this is why whenever we talk about the free leg, in our idea or understanding, the free leg is not necessarily free, meaning the only thing means that it's free is that it's weight bearing. I'm not standing on it. So the free leg function is to counterbalance the energy of the standing leg and to help a little bit with the momentum of the direction of movement. So if we're already using our legs to create balance when we move, let's say, in a line, the more complexity of moving in a pivot is that now, instead of just having this forward-back direction, we also have the spiral direction. However, luckily, because we're spiraling the whole body all the way from the bottom all the way to the top, that torsion is creating also a lot of stability. The energy in your core, the spiral position of the body is already creating a lot of stabilization. So actually pivoted positions should feel more stable than linear positions in the walk.
Yep.
Because you actually have more points
of opposition
that you're creating in space.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a little bit
Can I give them
weird, but
let me give them a different representation. I'm a white belt. Just kidding. I need this just to be able to show something. Still with Sara. Sara's a little sensitive today, and I'm trying to make this funny. So imagine this. This is the end. I mean, this is the end of one side. This is then the other side towards the ground. Let's say, right? So let's say if you think of one of the first and easy opposition is up and down, right? So I need to be down, standing down, and then going up. So if my body is doing this, besides that, let me put it sideways, right there. It will create lower back pain, which we already talked about, right? And it doesn't really create an equal balance, right? You cannot go in sideways to one side and there is no enough. So what I need to do with my body is to do this. I need to go down and up. This creates balance. And it's not a question of how much energy I'm creating. It's just equal energies. As much as I push down, I push up. And as soon as this is straight, on the sense of like the energies are equal, we're good. Then this also helps. Can you help me holding this one on top? Mm-hmm. So we have the down and the up, and now I need, right, this and this to also do the same thing. I need to go opposite, right? And imagine if you're now, hold this one, keep it there. Now we're turning, twisted, right? I have to have enough energy going to one side than going to the other. Because if let's say the lower part is weaker and this is stronger, then you start twisting the whole thing. So I need to create equal opposition of energies.
But this is also why in the body, can you hold it? Are you holding it? Up and down. Hold up. So this is also why it's really important that we don't think about these rotated positions as only having points.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't want to think about like there's a point of rotation here and then there's like a point of rotation here.
Yep.
Because that is also very imbalanced. Whenever we're rotating, you actually want to think all of these points.
Everything.
So it's the whole body length, the whole point of the body, which is when it spirals, all of it is spreading out. So not just the shoulders, not just the hips. Every single point of the surface area of your body is creating that opposition. So literally, it's your whole body that is opening and creating these oppositions. So I'll answer the question about the free leg counterbalancing the standing leg with an example, and then we'll talk about the heel going up. So the free leg counterbalances the standing leg in different ways. First of all, if I am The free leg is like an anchor in a way. So if I take a forward step and I really push up with a lot of energy, this back leg, having energy going back, is counterbalancing my inertia of the forward movement. It's very, very important. If from here, I bring my legs together, the amount of force I need to stop is much greater than if I'm using my back leg. So this is, let's say, 1 point of counterbalance. My back leg is counterbalancing my front leg in order to be able to move forward. Then the next step, as this leg comes forward, I am also counterbalancing against in this way. This is what also allows me to gather more energy to be able to move. So the free leg and the standing leg, they are interacting constantly with each other, and they're sharing energy, and they're working with each other depending on what it is that you need to create. Whether you need to create more energy forward, whether you need to create more energy back. If you're moving forward, or if you want to stop but you want your partner to continue moving forward, there's a lot of work of energy in the legs. So we never want to think about, we always want to think that the movement initiates from the standing leg because that's what's sending information to the partner. But the leg that's free, it has to do all of the work of counterbalancing the leg that we're standing on. So the last question, the free leg is not relaxed? No.
And again, what it means to be relaxed, that's
another thing. There are moments of relaxation in both legs, but relaxation doesn't mean completely let it go. The free leg just doesn't have weight.
Loose.
Yeah. So
if it's loose, you can actually hurt yourself.
So about articulation that Don was asking, the articulation is actually balanced by the movement forward. So you shouldn't go up. If I am only going up, if I'm only articulating and I'm not turning at the same time, then yes, I will go up. So this is the same question as walking in a line. It's really no different. If I am...
Queremos darle... Vos explicaste muy bien el tema del hinge.
Yeah.
Pero cuando lo pasas con algo...
So if I'm only going up, but not going forward, then yes, my whole axis will move up. But if the up movement also has a forward component, then I won't go up. My hips are going to actually stay in the same line. And that has to do with something physical. So my body, my length of my body from my foot to my hip is fixed. So if I don't at all articulate my ankle and I go into mid-stride, my hip actually drops in place. So at this point, which is mid-stride point, in order to not drop, I have to articulate my ankle. The articulation of the ankle is what creates the length at the apex of the triangle as it's moving forward to stay in the same point. So without articulation, we drop down. And this is also why some people have, instead of using their ankles, they use their knees. So their preference is to bend more and then use the extension of the knee as a way of preserving level. But that also means that any time that you're in axis, you have to be with your knees bent, and that doesn't always work. Depending on what you want to do, you don't have as many options if you're always bent with the knee in the axis.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope that was clear.
A number of teachers have strongly emphasized not to close the feet during the dance. No se juntan los pies. I don't know what that means. Do you mean don't collect, or do you mean? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly clear on what
if it is about the idea of no collecting, we don't say not to collect. We just say not to stop in the collection.
Or don't like if the direction of what you're being asked to do requires your leg to come right under itself,
which you will pass through.
You will collect naturally.
But we don't try to emphasize it as something extra that you need to do. But
when you're pivoting in one point without striding, Pivoting in one point without taking a step is very, very rare. You almost never do that. As a leader, that would mean that you're only taking you're staying in place, but then that can only happen for her to let's say do one step, because the moment that you stay in place, you're not leading anymore. You're not moving energy through her axis because you're not articulating. So it would be super.
But maybe they mean when you're in place as a man.
Yeah, but even when you're in place as a man, you are moving inside of the axis. Yeah. You're not stationary. So that articulation happens. It's just not quite so extreme as when you're taking a step. You're still moving inside of the axis of your foot. So your axis doesn't stay in the center. It moves around. Yeah.
I hope that was clear too.
Yeah, I hope that was clear.
There is a lot of things that many people talk about, but sometimes you guys have to always put it on perspective.
In context.
Like in context, sorry. Like meaning it's like, do you mean it just for this? Or why we don't, always the good question is always to ask like, why? Why do I put my feet together here? Do I always put it here? Or it goes on everything? For us, we believe on the general thing, like, okay, for this in particular thing, I put my feet together because it helped to do this. But you need to try to always ask the question, the why, yeah?
So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about regarding pivots.
Yeah, turns around the leader.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you guys, once you see this video and you have more questions, just write, as always, in the comments. And give us some suggestions what you would like us to talk about next time. I'm kind of like, these are the things that I think are important.
Yeah, I can tell you a few things.
Maybe Ivan, what would you like to talk about next time?
I can talk for next time, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm talking about right now.
No, I'm saying next time.
Oh, okay.
So if you have an idea what you want us to talk about next time, please give us some suggestions. I mean, the things that we've talked about so far are sort of like the really important technical points, but we'll be happy to talk about anything else like choreo or improvisation or any of that stuff. Okay, so last question. The guy is the center while the woman is around him. He's on one foot and he doesn't move. He doesn't move.
He does move.
He just doesn't move through space. Oh, it's okay. He doesn't move through space. He's moving inside of the axis. Yeah. Yeah.
So, let me. I show you. You don't just
no?
put the camera already.
Okay.
For my feet.
So Ivan will show you.
So here, for example, let's say I want to do a lapis, right? And then this is when it goes around, and then the woman goes around, right? However you want to do it. To be able to do that, I cannot just think about myself doing the lapis and that she's swinging me or helping me to go around. I'm actually leading that. So how I'm doing that? By pressing the ground, and that in my lapis is not just the free leg. Remember we were saying that the free leg is not just free, it's interacting with the standing leg. So my standing leg is the one that is pushing, see that I'm moving on my axis? Pushing the free leg. So which is helping me to be more on my toes. Which what I want to need it to be able to eventually pivot, right? So then, just by doing a lapis in place, you want to try to find how your axis is moving just by doing a lapis. And you can try this by yourself. So you have the forward portion of it, so you see how I move a little bit on my axis. If I move to the side here so you guys can see me. On the side is the same, it's not just my leg, I have to push a little bit and trying to move towards that side. And if I'm on the back step, it's also happening the same thing. It's not just the free leg. I'm trying to, the free leg moves backwards because I'm pushing back. So my axis is moving a tiny bit. Now I'm showing you bigger so you can see it. Eventually smaller, but you still have a lot of energy when that happens. So there is a really big difference doing this. Look how this looks. Oh, look how this looks. This is just a free leg. This is
creating something that the follower can feel. So sorry guys, I'm rushing you a little bit because we're running out of battery. I don't want the computer to go off. But so just so you guys know, especially for the leaders, Ivan is starting a leading a men's technique class tomorrow. So if you want to do it, let him know now. Because it's on Zoom and it's live. He needs to not have an overview of everybody because he's going to be correcting you, and it's twice a week. So if you guys want to know more information about that, just let us know. And for everything else, there's always Tango Meet. So go to tangomeet.com, look at our videos. Especially now, it's very helpful for us because, as all of you know, we're not teaching, we're not working, all of our work has been canceled. So we would really appreciate that you support us if you like our information and you think it's valuable.
And no, my knee doesn't hurt because I don't have to move as much as I'm showing you. If you know, you won't be able to see as much.
And it's slightly bent, so there's no leaning on the knee. It's just really more like moving through the axis of the foot. So, yeah.
So you see when I do it more realistically, you still see that, but you see I'm not moving as much. Look at this, just the free leg. I move the axis, see it's a little bit, and when I show you, I was really showing you so you can see that. But if I'm bending this, it shouldn't hurt my knee.
It's just muscle. You need to have strength.
Yeah, so it doesn't really hurt.
Even though I don't go all the way there, but I still have to move on my axis from my standing leg to connect to my free leg to be able to lead my follower around, and that movement, it helps me to be able to turn. Jesus, that was a wrap.
Wow. Okay, everybody, have a good night. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please give us suggestions for next time.
You like my question?
What is your question, Hilal? I didn't see it. What was your question? Oh no. Hilal, I hear you well. My
Fit together explanation is also valid for linear steps?
Yes, fit together explanation is also valid for linear steps. Yeah.
Everything that you do by walking, you do by turning.
So your legs, in your linear step, actually, you don't have to really think about collection because if you're using your standing leg to move your axis, the free leg comes under you, comes through, and the collection happens automatically. You don't have to accelerate your leg or stop to emphasize that at all. And then if the leader wants you to accelerate or to stop, he should be leading it. So none of that stuff as followers we should do automatically.